The Cleveland Browns, you have my attention. Goodness gracious, did they come out and just beat up this Bengals offense? I'm about 48 hours removed from picking Joe Burrow to win the MVP and picking the Bengals to have the best record in the league. And I still feel like the Bengals will be fine. Look back to the way they started last season, etc. But the Browns came out today with, one, an excellent game plan, and two, a mentality on defense that I think I wanted to see. I wanted to see this defense feel different. I wanted to see them just, there was something missing over the last couple of years, even with the talent that they had in certain areas, personnel wise, there was always something missing. And this was one of those games where it just felt like it was all coming together in a way we haven't seen before. And man, was that encouraging.
Be the aggressor, not be a finesse defense, which is just seems, like an oxymoron. Like, it's like actually be aggressive. And oh my goodness, they were just weaponized today. God, stop saying that. But honestly, but just this, but look at how the wide alignments that Jim Schwartz has letting this defense play with, and the speed he's letting them play with. They just seemed, they were taking it to him. They're running man coverage against the Bengals, which you and I in our preview show were like, well, Jim Schwartz wants to live in a single high world. Like, you got to, like, let's see if he tries it. And he tried it. But what was so cool, what Jim Schwartz was pulling the levers. He was dictating a lot in this game. And just looking at what they did on third down was just so interesting. Like, he was at first doing man coverage. So Burrow's launching go balls, launching inside fade, slot fade routes, which are, 50-50 balls. This is sometimes can lead to inconsistencies. He went 0 for 3 on those throws on third down. So then what happens is, as the game goes along on those third downs, is Schwartz shows man coverage, then gets into cover 2. Then he shows man coverage and gets to 3 buzz. He shows 3 buzz, which is a version of cover 3. His safety comes down inside. He's showing all these different looks, and then getting to cover 2. And then Burrow is holding onto the ball with that pass rush coming after him. And they're giving chip help, so not all 5 guys are getting out. So now it's over.
As soon as that sort of hesitation, it's over. And that's what it felt like today. So you look at the Bengals over the last 2 years on offense. Okay. So we have this world in 2021 where they're this hyper explosive team and they're making all these explosive plays against single high looks. Then you go to last year and teams are playing all this too high coverage against them, and they're just comfortable dinking and dunking their way and being this hyper efficient offense. So those are the two kind of worlds that we've lived in with the Bengals, and they've solved both worlds. What teams didn't do against them in either of those worlds was blitz. Teams have not blitzed Joe Burrow because they've been so scared about what he is going to do against them when blitzed. So teams blitz Burrow on 15.6% of his dropbacks last season, which was the lowest rate in the NFL, even lower than Tom Brady. The Browns blitzed today on 38% of his dropbacks. Mm-hmm. On those plays, he finished 2 of 11 for 16 yards with one first down. The only first down was on a corner blitz. It was a heat check moment from Jim Schwartz.
And he lobbed it over him to Chase.
That was the only one.
Yeah.
Any more traditional
heat check. It was a heat check.
When you get to a certain place in the game, you're like, fuck it. We might as well just run the corner cat.
You're just going down your blitz list, and you're like, hey, we haven't called number 7 yet.
But everything else they ran, the Bengals had no answer. And I think it's a great thing to point out. It was just enough little wrinkles in the coverages where they were very comfortable being aggressive and challenging them in man coverage, which a lot of teams aren't willing to do at this stage. But there were also just enough wrinkles with the cover 2 stuff. There was a play in the second quarter, I want to say, where it was a 2nd and long, and Delpit followed the tight end over in motion. So you think, all right, well, they're just in man coverage, and they drop back into cover 2, and Burrow just had to dump it off. And the next play, okay, so this is the perfect kind of 2-play sequence. That happens on one play. On the next play, it's 3rd down, and they use Myles Garrett as a spinner over the center, which they did multiple different times today, where you have a 5-0 look with 5 guys, 5 one-on-ones that you create, and you have one of, if not the best pass rushers in the league, one-on-one with your center in that situation. And they were comfortable doing that the entire game. And when you say they were dictating, those are the ways in which they were dictating, finding all those one-on-ones and just not being afraid of playing man. The confidence with which Jim Schwartz called the game and the confidence with which the secondary especially played in this game was really eye-opening when you compare it to other versions of this Browns defense.
The man coverage snaps, exactly. That's exactly what stood out to me, was the attitude those DBs played with.
I mean,
It was
so much attitude. Emerson, the way that
yeah.
Denzel Ward looked early in the game, the guy I
Yeah.
thought had the best moments, just because, again, it's a departure from what we've seen from him in the past. Delpit had 3 or 4 moments in this game where I was like, okay, now we're cooking with gas.
Yep.
Like, if this guy is going to play with this sort of assertiveness, then you're going to be in a really good spot as a defense. And that's how it felt today.
And again, and that's why, I mean, honestly, one stat that stood out to me was Burrow had 11 throws for 10 yards or 10 air yards. He went 1 for 11 on those. Like, he was just anything down the field. They just couldn't get just get them off their backs. Like, just like, okay, can we get a little breathing room on some of this? And again, that's what man coverage. Okay, I'm going to beat this pass rush anyways. The Browns were getting pressure under 2 seconds. Average time to pressure is under 2 seconds. So I'm going to get rid of the ball. Oh, man coverage. I'll take my one-on-one. I'm going to take my chances with that. And then that's what Jim Schwartz was doing. He was doing the big brother move. Like, why? I'm not hitting you. I'm not hitting you right now. So again, it's just like, it was really cool to like see that change up from someone that's so aggressive, and then doing like spot drop zone, which I talked about on the Thursday show, and just changing up the looks. It just wasn't always the same look at Joe Burrow. And this is what the Ravens did at the end of last season, was change those post snap looks on them and make them just double clutch the ball and just go, is that cover 2? Or is that cover 3? When
they dropped Myles Garrett into coverage multiple times in this game, where they had that 5-0 look, and they dropped both him and Zadarius Smith into coverage and still brought pressure. So I thought it was creative. I thought it was ballsy. And I thought that this defense felt so much different than it's felt in the past. And the version of Myles Garrett that we are going to get to appreciate if they continue to play like this, that game sealing sack he had where he's fighting through the chip help and just being like, fuck you, this is over. I cannot wait, if they play this way the entire season, to see that guy unleashed because he has help.
The Bengals didn't have the Bengals didn't have a single explosive pass this entire game. So that's the only time it's ever happened in Joe Burrow's career. This was Joe Burrow's worst game ever as a starter, just like everything.
Pouring rain. He couldn't get had no grip on the ball early in the game.
Calf thing is not a lot of reps.
He hasn't practiced. Again, a team comes out and blitzes twice as much as any team will blitz them last year. It's a perfect confluence of factors for them to look like garbage. And
division game, all this stuff. Yeah. But it was just, it really just felt like the Browns just always had their number no matter what. And just cool game plan. Like, just a nice, always just pushing the right buttons at the right time. Like, hats off to Jim Schwartz and really just the Browns as a whole.
What do you think about the Browns offense in this game?
It felt like they got into a little rhythm as the game got along.
I thought they looked okay. And Watson had some rough moments early. But I thought that they actually looked okay over the course of the game. He made a handful of throws. I thought it was well constructed. It was the same sort of stuff we expect from the Browns offense overall. I came away from the game actually feeling more optimistic about them, even after losing Jack Conklin, likely for the season, than I even did coming into the game. And I had them as a top 10 offense.
They felt more confident as the game went along. You got to see kind of like what I think they're going to lean into this year, I think we both did. They used empty about a dozen times. They only hit that number 3 times last year. So I was like, okay.
The stretch in the second quarter in the 2-minute drill, they used it on like 5 or 6 straight plays. And that's
what made me look it up. It was when I went through that. I was like, hey, how many
used
times
it on like 5 or 6 straight plays in the 2-minute drill. And I thought that was a really good instance when we talked about the melding of styles with this offense, where they want to be able to run the ball. They want to be under center. They're always going to be like that. Nick Chubb is a huge part of this offense. But in those moments where they need the quarterback to kind of be the central figure within the offense in a 2-minute drill, when you need to have it, they allowed him to be. It was like, all right, we're just going to spread it out. You're going to throw it around. We're going to call a quarterback draw on 2nd and 11, and you're going to score a touchdown. Yeah. So that version of it, I know they want to be able to tap into that when it's necessary. And I think that was a very good kind of moment and light bulb situation for them early in the season.
The things that stood out to me. So the empty stuff, the stuff you returned, they had 3 designed runs, including the 2-point play, the touchdown that you talked about, all of them nice plays. The touchdown run was kind of funny because also I want to compliment Mike McDaniel one more time. The Browns motioned to a like empty diamond formation, which is like one of those that like sounds better in practice, and usually it's just like an automatic run play because you only can do so much out of it. The Dolphins actually threw a drop back pass out of that formation, and it was a dig route to Tyreek Hill. And I was like, you psychos. But anyways,
that just means a 4-strong formation to one side, right?
4 guys on one side, but they're making like a little diamond, like and literally how their formation is. So, anyways, but just what the Browns were doing today, used a bunch of personnel groupings. They did like a bunch of tight ends at one time. They did 7 snaps of 0-1 personnel, which is really interesting. Which is 4 wide receivers and 1 tight end. They did 1 snap of 0-2 personnel, which is 3 receivers and 2 tight ends. And they did that a little in the preseason, but I thought it was going to be kind of like just we're going to make the first team kind of look at that and just waste their time. And they actually like leaned into it. They're using jumbo personnel with the 6 offensive linemen. So some interesting stuff, but you can see that they're trying to merge these ideas. One last thing I did think was really interesting was they're trying to get some shotgun play action game going. And you can see them, they did kind of like a different action than I've seen before. And I might do a video on this, so we'll see. But they're in a shotgun, but it looks like I'm trying to describe this. It looks under center-ish, the action of the quarterback and the running back, the steps, the motion that Deshaun Watson does. And maybe he's more comfortable with that. And maybe it's to sell the run game a little more. And then they pull the guard along with that. And they did that several times today, which I thought was really interesting. It was kind of like, that was
that
the
guard
idea.
pull situation. They're trying to tie that with the guard pull play action game that they're using more often. They're one of those teams I think is going to use that guard pull play action we talked about in the preseason a lot more.
But usually when teams do out of the gun, the running back's crossing his face in front of the quarterback. Like you're selling like a zone play. They did it like Nick Chubb is to the left of Deshaun Watson. I'm trying to describe this as well as I can on an audio podcast. He's next to Deshaun Watson to his left, but then goes behind Deshaun Watson like he's doing an under center run play. And then Deshaun's doing that action, which was really kind of funky. And I was like, they're trying, and that's like a perfect like encapsulation of what this team's trying to do. They're trying to merge 2 worlds. It's like right there was the little freak baby of a play that like right there, that was the clone right there, what this offense is trying to do. But I thought that was really interesting.
I said in the preview when we talked about this game that I thought that the Browns offense was going to try to take advantage of the Bengals safeties on a couple of shots down the field. That play where they handed the ball off to Deshaun Watson and then he spun back around and threw it. I knew they were going to run that. And I was waiting for it because they showed it in the preseason where they faked a handoff to him. And it was wide open, and he just underthrew it a little bit. Marquise Goodwin was wide open. So that was a fun one that very nearly was a touchdown. But I thought that even beyond the kind of crazy designs from the Browns today, a lot of soundness and a lot of reasons to feel good about this team on both sides of the ball.
Yep.